I confronted my mom. "You're a terrible grandmother," she replied. "Wow, social media is your issue. Wait, what?" Growing up, I always envisioned myself becoming a father and creating wonderful memories with my parents and children. I never imagined I would find myself in the situation I am in today. I apologize if my narrative lacks coherence or tends to jump around. Storytelling has never been my forte. Here is a brief background. I was raised in a family where my parents separated when I was about 10 years old. Infidelity and dishonesty led to a marriage that my father could no longer endure. Since that time, I have consistently endeavored to maintain strong relationships with both parents. I mostly lived with my father, spending weekends at my mother's house when possible. I cannot recall how frequently this occurred, but it often felt insufficient for nurturing a good relationship with her. My mother cycled through relationships rapidly, but eventually settled with my stepfather. My father remarried as well, yet I always felt he prioritized me and my siblings over his relationships. Reflecting on my past, I can see that my father made every effort to attend special occasions. During high school, he would attend almost every sports event in which I participated and supported my interests. In contrast, I would only see my mother when it suited her and for her emotional benefit. My junior year of high school was particularly challenging. My father wanted me to concentrate on my studies and became stricter, while my mother was more lenient, enabling my poor behavior. This led to resentment toward my father, and I allowed some manipulation from my mother to influence my actions. Ultimately, this resulted in my parents sending me to a different school out of state. Looking back, this was the best decision they could have made for me, and I no longer hold it against them, even though I resented them at the time for not recognizing its benefits. I played the role of the compliant child to ensure I could return home. My father made every effort to visit me and strengthen our bond, even showing up at several football games I didn't expect him to attend because of the distance from my hometown. My mother, however, would only visit during obligatory family gatherings arranged by counselors. I try not to blame her too much, as she and my stepfather were small business owners, and closing their business early to visit could have financial implications. My father, on the other hand, had a job that provided paid vacation and allowed him to work remotely if necessary. My father consistently shared positive remarks about others and refrained from contributing to negativity. Conversely, my mother often planted seeds of doubt about my father. Her manipulative nature led us to feel as though we were to blame for their divorce. She would imply it was our fault whenever she did something we disapproved of. She has always craved validation. Nearly 15 years after being sent to the school out of state, she still asks if I harbor resentment toward her for that decision, despite my reassurances that it was the best choice for me at that moment. Upon returning to my hometown, I fell back in with the same crowd and found myself repeating past mistakes. I was expelled at 18 after graduating high school. For almost 7 years, I dedicated myself to working hard and achieving success, attending community college, and nearly holding a full-time job, all while attempting to mend my relationships with my parents through weekend dinners and other gatherings. Eventually, I moved several states away from my family for school, where I met my now wife. After having our first child, we planned our wedding for the summer after their first birthday. In typical fashion, my mother made the event about herself, arriving late for photographs. She has only met my firstborn once, during my wedding. My mother's love language revolves around gifting material items, leading to her sending toys and clothes that our kids may enjoy, but that lack relevance to their interests. This happens not because I do not inform her about their preferences, but because she is not engaged in their lives. I currently have 3 children, with our 4th due to arrive soon, and my mother has not met any of my other kids, nor do I believe she ever will. Part of this is due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as we had a newborn and another child shortly thereafter, and we were unwilling to jeopardize their health or lives due to vaccination hesitancy and quarantine concerns. This situation brings me to the core issue. In November, my mother sent me a text asking for clothing sizes for my children, and my response was, "Mom, I've been trying to express this as kindly as possible. Please save your money on clothes. What we would appreciate is for you to video call so the girls can connect with you. I understand you are busy and cannot visit frequently, but my daughters do not recognize who their grandmother is. I'm not asking for daily interactions, but perhaps a couple of times a month would be beneficial. I hope you understand my sentiments and do not take them negatively." Her reply was, "I understand, dear. I would at least like to call and talk to them, although I'm unsure about video calling. I need your schedules to coordinate since we are in different time zones. There is a 1-hour difference. Weekends might work for me. What about you? Let me know." We planned a call on Sunday, resulting in a brief conversation where the kids were confused about why a stranger was speaking to them. My wife has reached a breaking point regarding this situation. She believes I am commendable for trying to maintain my mother's presence in our lives and our children's lives. However, I sense some bias on her part since her parents are actively involved in our children's upbringing. While my wife does have reservations about my father, he visits at least twice a year and makes an effort to video call the kids. Most of this has transpired over the last 2 years. The final straw occurred last week when my eldest celebrated their 5th birthday, and my mother made no effort to contact them. We received multiple calls from family members who could not attend the party, inquiring about speaking with my oldest, including my father, who was overseas and in a significantly different time zone. Instead, my mother opted to post a "happy birthday" message on Facebook, which my oldest would never see unless I informed them, as they do not really know who my mother is. Consequently, I commented along the lines that I wished she had called rather than posting on Facebook where my child would not see it. I may have had a drink or two at that point, leading to increased frustration and conflict. The post was deleted, and the following day my mother sent me a text stating, "It was too late once I made that Facebook post. I felt a bit hurt by your response, so I deleted the post. Anyway, I am having dinner. Have a good weekend." This only added to my frustration. I took time to reflect and ultimately consulted my more level-headed wife for her approval before replying. "Mom, I have been trying my hardest to avoid making a fuss about this, but I feel that you do not make sufficient effort to engage with my children or be part of their lives as I wish you would. You chose to announce something on social media rather than through a personal message, text, or call. This most recent post exemplifies that. You behave as if my children know you and have a bond with you for everyone to view on Facebook. When I asked my oldest who gave them the camera, the response was, 'Who is that? This isn't because I have not been trying to include you in our lives, but because you last saw my oldest when they were 16 months old. You have not met my other 2 children, and our next child will arrive in 4 months. I struggle daily with why I continue to make the effort. I love you, Mom, and I apologize for your feelings of hurt, but imagine how I feel knowing my children do not know who you are. I hope this message helps you comprehend my feelings on the matter, and we can work towards improving the situation for my children. I love you, Mom, always will.' I have since noticed a few passive-aggressive posts on her Facebook page and have unfollowed her there, not blocked. Her response to me was, 'I am sorry you feel the way you do. All I can say is WOW. Is social media the source of your issues? Vaccinations prevent me from visiting you and my grandchildren. The last I checked, we had to be vaccinated before visiting. I'm sorry, but that won't be happening. Communication is a two-way street. My other 3 children call me once or twice a month, so why don't you?' As I previously mentioned, I've always been the one to initiate communication, and now she claims it is a two-way street. Since these exchanges, our conversations have been limited to wishing each other happy birthdays and holidays via text. Eventually, I discovered that my mother blocked me on her social media accounts, effectively severing her ties with my children. After she unblocked me, I received a Facebook message with the following content: 'I am sorry that you and I have become so distanced. I love you. I hope we can reconnect again. However, it is going to require effort from both of us. I apologize for blocking you, but I did it for self-preservation, not because I don't care. I would love to see you and your beautiful family, but please note that I will likely be working for at least another year. I love you so much. Please know I want to reconnect if you are willing. Hugs and love, your mom.' Once again, I became frustrated by the content of this message, and I included the following letter with our family's Christmas card. 'Mom, I have been working on how to express this appropriately for a few weeks now. First and foremost, we love you. I am struggling to understand why you choose to behave as you do. I cannot control or change it. That is your decision to make. I had a lengthy conversation with you last year, expressing how I felt and what I wanted to see improve. You have yet to make those changes, so I have been unable to navigate this two-way road. I will always respect you and Ken, and will not speak ill of you. I just cannot comprehend what I did to deserve this treatment, or why my children should suffer. You never inquire about my children. You also never check on how my wife and I are doing. From my point of view, your behavior appears selfish, although I acknowledge this may be my bias given that I am unaware of what is unfolding in your life. Likely, this is also my fault, as I have stopped asking you about your life. This dynamic seems to have worsened since I requested you to engage more with us. I understand that your job is demanding at your age and that you have many obligations. However, I would hope you could reach out to us during your days off after some rest. I am available on Sundays, and even if I am not, a simple text, message, or call to ask if I am free would only take a moment. I am still perplexed as to why you would block my Facebook profile if that was your only means of connecting with my children. Your justification of self-preservation leads me to believe you feel I am hurting you by sharing snippets of my life online. Please rest assured that I do not post images of my life with the intent to harm you. That is not my consideration. The only explanation I can conceive is that you are seeking that type of attention. You probably desired for me to reach out to understand why you acted this way. I find it increasingly difficult to invest time in such immature behavior. If you want to be a part of my children's lives or mine, significant effort on your part is necessary. We have full-time careers. I assist on my in-laws farm occasionally. I am raising 4 children, and overall, our lives are busy with various activities. Others in my life reach out to me, and in return, I make an effort to connect when time permits. I am exhausted from always being the one to reach out when you seem indifferent to our existence. In our recent conversations, the focus has been solely on you and your garden, or you're forgetting your grandchildren's birthdays. A simple text to inquire about my children every now and then was all I requested. I'm aware you may not grasp what I am attempting to communicate in this message, just as when you informed stepfather that I said you could not send gifts to the kids. What I actually conveyed was that you should save your money for gifts and come visit instead, as you had mentioned finances were tight. This was followed by your vacation to visit my sister or brother. To be clear, I would prefer visits from you both so my children can get to know you. I was raised without knowing my mother because she passed away before I was born or shortly thereafter. My children do not recognize who you are, and they often ask about you and stepfather in photos from our wedding. I will be returning your check since I do not feel I owe you anything for sending it. If you can afford to send gifts to my children, feel free. However, I still strongly prefer your visits. Her response was, I received your letter today. I am very disappointed in you. You need to mature. Remember that you should be a positive role model for your children. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and feelings about me. The guilt trip you are attempting to impose does not work on me. I am not Catholic. Have a great life. Please let my grandchildren know I will always love them, but as they grow older, they should be aware of your letter and how you return their Christmas money. You are the selfish one. I attempted to visit during the summer and fall, yet you were preoccupied with your wife's family reunion and had to go hunting in the fall, so don't claim that I haven't made an effort. You were not available when I could visit, so I went to see my other children who live just a day's drive away. I have been recently promoted again, so I will be unable to visit anyone for a while, but our home is always open if you decide to come see us. The ball is in your court, but remember that I will not instruct you on what you should do, as you are attempting to direct me. Be aware that you know how to burn bridges. Hope you are also equipped to repair them if you want your daughters to know me. I apologize for the lengthy account, but Reddit, I seek your impartial perspective. Am I the one at fault? In summary, am I in the wrong for expressing to my mother that she is an inadequate grandmother after years of manipulation, and now neglecting to be involved in my children's lives? Story 2. OMG, my husband's dad's wife demanded back baby clothes she gifted us 2 years ago, claiming they were sentimental. Seriously, exploding head. Lengthy post, but I seek answers because I need to determine whether I am in the wrong. Background: my husband and I first met when we were around 14 or 15 years old. His father had been absent from his life since he was approximately 11 years old and was only present for about a year. I became pregnant at 14, and we welcomed our son. His father reached out to us on Facebook, initiating conversations with my husband and commenting on pictures of our son before again vanishing from our lives. Fast forward 5 years, we had our daughter, and my husband stumbled across his father's Facebook profile once more. He viewed a post where his father expressed how much he loved being a grandfather to his stepson's child, which understandably upset my husband. Not only did he have 2 children, but his brother also had one, making it feel like a painful disregard for them. My husband ultimately commented on the post, which prompted his father to maintain contact and express a desire to meet his grandchildren. So, his father and stepmother visited our home to meet the kids, bringing a substantial box of clothing for my daughter that had been outgrown by the stepson's child. We appreciated the gesture. The meeting was successful and they continued to communicate, leading to us spending holidays together. They would pass down clothes and other items that the stepson's child had outgrown, and this continued for 2 years. It is important to note that we never requested anything from them. We consistently offered assistance with Christmas and Thanksgiving meals and inquired if they needed anything when we visited, cleaning up after our children at their home. We have always treated them with respect. Now, my husband's stepmother tends to be a rather stressed and tightly wounded individual. Her son, his girlfriend, and their daughter all reside with them. I noticed early on that she did not treat her son's girlfriend kindly, which put me on guard. Nevertheless, I remained cordial and respectful, hoping to foster a relationship with her. During one visit, my husband's grandparents drove 2 hours to see us. It turned out that his stepmother had made plans with her mother for the day we were supposed to leave. On that day, my husband and his father discussed extending our stay a little longer. When my husband approached me about it, I learned that his father had spoken with her, and that led to chaos. She began acting irrationally, in front of the grandparents and all the children, stomping around the house and making a scene, essentially throwing a tantrum. Consequently, we decided to leave, as I did not want to be caught in the middle of the drama with my children present. My husband's grandmother was upset and mortified. We were blindsided by this behavior, yet tried to dismiss it. They eventually moved 2 hours away, but we still wanted to stay in touch and visit. This Thanksgiving, we packed up the kids and traveled to see them, again asking if they needed anything or if we could bring or cook anything. She requested drinks, so we obliged. The visit was pleasant without any issues. Then came Christmas. They mentioned coming to our house, which would have been fine, but we offered to travel to them instead, thinking it might be easier for them. His father returned from work in mid-January. He works out of state, and they asked if we could bring my husband's brother, his girlfriend, and their baby along. We were enthusiastic as we enjoy road trips, especially since I have a van, we have 3 children. Once we arrived, it was enjoyable until once again, on our final day, she erupted in another tantrum. We were unsure about the cause, but it occurred while we were packing up to leave. At this point, we began to get the impression that she was unhappy with our presence, yet we continued to brush it aside. Between my husband's father and stepmother, they have around 6 children from previous relationships, but neither of them had much of a connection with most of them until they reached adulthood and began having their own children. Recently, she started reconnecting with her daughters, one of whom just had a baby girl and the other is expecting a girl. A few days after our Christmas visit, she sent me a message asking if I could gather the 9 to 12-month clothes I had. Later, she followed up, stating she wanted all clothes from newborn to 12 months that she had previously given me so she could pass them on to her daughter. I was somewhat taken aback by this request since I do not simply accumulate 2 years' worth of clothing. Fortunately, I tend to delay organizing, so I had a majority of it and informed her that I would begin amassing what I had at home, though most of the smaller items were in storage, which is about 45 minutes from my house due to our move at the beginning of last year. I assured her I would retrieve them as soon as possible. A week went by, and she texted again, insisting she would be coming soon to collect the clothes. I explained we would have to postpone because my entire household was ill, and I had not found time to go to the storage facility. Fast forward 2 weeks, and things have been tough for us. Our van broke down, and we were managing as best as we could. She texted once more, this time asserting that she and her daughters would come to my house to pick up the clothes, specifically mentioning, especially that big box of clothes we gave you because they are brand new, and my mother spent a lot of money on them. They are very sentimental. I was frustrated by this. She gave me those clothes 2 years ago, and they have been used by 2 different babies. They are no longer new. Additionally, I do not hoard baby clothes. She never indicated when she gave them to us that there were any conditions attached. Had I known, I would not have accepted them. We never asked for those items and could have purchased our own children's clothes. I was quite irritated by her attitude, her values constantly talking about the monetary worth of items, and most importantly, her attempts to dictate my actions. I have 3 children, and my husband is frequently working, leaving little free time for me. I intended to gather the clothes and take them on our next visit, rather than being pressured about it. I expressed my feelings as respectfully as possible, but she did not accept this, which is typical of a narcissist. I communicated that I did not appreciate her holding the clothes over my head. She then started bringing up other matters, such as the expense of Christmas dinner, which I had offered to help pay for. She expressed that she would no longer participate in holidays due to the costs involved, to which I responded that we never requested that. We could have had a simple meal for Christmas and would have been happy merely to be in their company. I was completely astonished because one would anticipate that someone who had missed their children's entire lives would cherish these experiences. In the end, I informed her that we were aware of her actions. She seemed uninterested in allowing my husband's father to have relationships with anyone but her children and grandchildren. We recognized her attempts to exclude us and concluded it was not worth it, as my children deserved not to feel inferior. I blocked her, and we have not received any communication from his father, which appears to be the conclusion of that chapter. However, both my husband and I are perfectly content with this, as we do not wish to be in anyone's life who does not want us in theirs. My mother has her on her Facebook, where she shares unpleasant posts that seem directed at me, but it does not truly bother me. It is childish on her part but irrelevant. Do you believe I am in the wrong?